The Galactic Council chamber was silent as the sentence was announced. Ambassador stood in the center of the room, surrounded by representatives from 47 different species. Her hands were bound with energy restraints, but her eyes held no fear. The High Chancellor, a tall creature with silver scales and 6 eyes, read from the ancient scroll of judgment. For the crime of defending your colony against the Trade Guild, for destroying their collection ships, and for refusing to surrender your people as payment for territorial debts, you are sentenced to immediate execution. Smiled. It was a strange smile that made several council members uncomfortable. You should have read our history files more carefully, she said quietly. The Chancellor ignored her words and activated the execution device. A beam of concentrated plasma struck directly in the chest. Her body fell to the floor, lifeless. The council members nodded in satisfaction. The human problem had been solved. Their species was young, weak, and now they would understand their place in the galaxy. What the council did not understand was something very simple about humans. They were pack animals. They formed bonds that ran deeper than logic or survival instinct. And when you killed one of their pack members in front of the entire galaxy, you did not send a message of power. You lit a fire that would never stop burning. The news reached Earth in 17 hours. The broadcast of execution had been sent across every communication channel in the galaxy as a warning to other species who might challenge council authority. Every human on every colony, every station, every ship watched their ambassador die. They watched her smile before the beam hit her. They watched the council members laugh afterward. Captain was commanding the research vessel Horizon when the broadcast reached him. He was a calm man, known for his patience and diplomatic approach to difficult situations. He watched the execution 3 times without speaking. Then he walked to the communication console and sent a single message to Earth Command. It contained only 4 words. Activate Protocol Burning Sky. On Earth, Admiral Sarah received the message in her office. She had served humanity for 40 years. She had negotiated peace treaties and trade agreements. She had believed in diplomacy and cooperation with the galactic community. Now she sat in her chair and felt something cold settle in her chest. She opened the secure vault beneath her desk and removed a black folder that had not been touched in 20 years. The folder contained plans that humanity had hoped would never be needed. Plans for total war. The Council expected fear. They expected the humans to send apologetic messages, to beg for mercy, to accept whatever terms were offered. Instead, silence came from human space. For 3 days, no human ship moved. No human message was sent. The Council grew confused. Perhaps the humans were paralyzed with grief. Perhaps they had accepted their defeat. On the 4th day, the Trade Guild sent a collection fleet to the human colony of New Brisbane. 12 massive ships entered the system, ready to take payment in human bodies as their contract allowed. They expected no resistance. The colony had no military vessels. The collection fleet never reported back. When the Council sent a scout ship to investigate, they found wreckage floating in space. Not just destroyed ships, but wreckage that had been torn apart with a violence that explanation. Among the debris, they found a single message beacon. The recording showed a human face, calm and steady. "This is Captain of the New Brisbane Defense Militia. You killed our ambassador. You tried to enslave our children. We responded." The recording ended. Panic began to spread through the Council. They had destroyed human military capacity years ago. They had limited human expansion and kept their technology primitive. How had they built weapons capable of destroying a Trade Guild fleet? The answer came when the Council's intelligence network finally penetrated human communication channels. For 20 years, while smiling and accepting limitations, humanity had been building. In secret shipyards hidden in asteroid fields, in research stations disguised as mining operations, in underground factories on 100 different colonies, humans had been preparing. They had stolen technology from every species they encountered. They had improved it. They had combined different alien sciences in ways no species had imagined possible. The home world received its warning on day 7. A single human ship appeared at the edge of their system. It was not a warship. It was a research vessel, small and lightly armed, but it carried a message from humanity. The message was simple: return all humans taken by the Trade Guild within one standard week or face consequences. They laughed at the threat. They had 17 battle fleets. They controlled trade routes across 3 sectors. What could one small human ship do? On day 14, the star began to dim. Human scientists had developed a weapon that could affect stellar fusion. They called it the stellar suppression device. It did not destroy stars immediately. It slowly reduced their energy output over several months, long enough for a planet's surface to freeze, long enough for crops to die, long enough for civilization to collapse. They surrendered within hours. Every human slave was returned. The Trade Guild dissolved itself and begged for mercy. The council held an emergency session. Representatives screamed at each other in 17 different languages. Some demanded immediate military action against humanity. Others argued for negotiation. The ambassador, whose species had always advocated for human rights, simply sat and smiled. He had warned them. He had told them that humans were different. They had not listened. Human fleets began appearing across the galaxy, not attacking, not threatening, simply existing. They positioned themselves near every major council world. They waited. The message was clear without words. We can reach you. We can hurt you. We are choosing not to, for now. Admiral finally sent her message to the council on day 30. She appeared on screens across the galaxy, her face showing no anger, only determination. You executed our ambassador for defending human lives. You broadcast her death as entertainment. You expected us to submit. You were wrong. She paused and looked directly into the camera. We have spent 20 years preparing for this moment. We hoped it would never come. We hoped you would see us as partners, as equals, as friends. You chose to see us as slaves. That was your mistake. The galaxy held its breath as she continued. We are not here for revenge, would not have wanted that. She believed in peace, in cooperation, in building something better together, so we offer you a choice. Reform the council, abolish the slave trade, recognize the rights of all sentient species. Do this and we will stand down. Refuse and we will continue what we have started. One by one your stars will grow cold, your worlds will freeze, your civilizations will end. Not because we hate you, but because we cannot allow what happened to happen to anyone else. The Chancellor demanded to speak with human leadership directly. He wanted to negotiate, to find some compromise. Admiral agreed to meet him on a neutral station. When she entered the meeting room, the Chancellor was already there with his advisors. He looked at the human woman with a mixture of fear and curiosity. You were her friend, he said, referring to. You must be filled with anger. Sat across from him. I am filled with grief. There is a difference. Anger burns out, grief stays. It reminds us why we fight. The negotiations lasted 4 days. The Chancellor tried every tactic his species had developed over of political manipulation, countered each one. She had been preparing for this conversation for 20 years. Every argument, every threat, every offer had been anticipated and planned for. In the end, the Council agreed to human demands. The slave trade was abolished across all member species. The execution of sentient beings without trial was forbidden. A new charter of rights was established and was recognized as a martyr whose death had changed galactic civilization forever. Some species resisted the changes. The Empire refused to release their human slaves and declared war on the new council. Their war lasted 3 months, 3 months of their ships being destroyed, 3 months of their colonies being blockaded, 3 months of watching their allies abandon them one by one. When they finally surrendered, their emperor was tried under the new charter he had rejected. He spent the rest of his life in prison. Years passed. Humanity became a major power in galactic politics, but they did not become conquerors. They built schools and hospitals on worlds that had once feared them. They shared technology freely with species who respected the new charter. They remembered not with monuments of stone, but with acts of kindness. Captain retired from service and wrote a history of the burning sky period. His book was translated into every language in the galaxy. The final chapter contained only one paragraph. We burned the old order to the ground because it was built on cruelty. We built something new from the ashes because we believe that every thinking creature deserves freedom and dignity. Taught us that peace is worth fighting for. She was right. A statue of was eventually placed in the center of the new council chamber. It showed her not as a warrior, but as a diplomat, hand extended in friendship. The plaque beneath it contained her last words before the execution, words that had been recorded but never broadcast until now. I am not afraid to die. I am afraid of living in a galaxy where this is considered justice, but I have hope. My species will not forget me. They will not abandon what I stood for. They will change things. They will make it better. That is what humans do. We find the darkness and we bring light, even if it burns. The council members who had ordered her execution were no longer in power. Most had fled, some had been arrested, a few had simply disappeared. But their legacy remained in the reformed galaxy, a reminder that power without compassion eventually destroys itself. Humanity continued to spread across the stars. They formed alliances, built friendships, and created wonders that amazed even the oldest species in the galaxy. But they never forgot what had happened in that council chamber. Every human child learned the story of and the burning sky. They learned that standing alone against injustice was not foolish. It was necessary. And somewhere in the vast darkness of space, on a small memorial station that orbited the world where had been born, a flame burned constantly. It was just fire, simple chemical combustion, primitive by galactic standards. But it never went out. Humans came from across the galaxy to see it, to remember, and to renew their promise. The galaxy would never burn again because of injustice. They would make sure of it. The flame was called light. It would burn forever.